Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining the Get Ready Small Business Business Specialist webinars. I'm Pty Ltd from Complete Business Solutions in proud partnership with the Small Business Recovery Centre Department, Employment, Small Business and Training. We will run daily live webinars with business specialists from around the state to help small business owners with the preparedness and recovery for the upcoming disaster seasons. Today, Monday, 25th of October, we have Megan Taylor of Kapow Interactive. Now, I have known Megan for about 4 years, and we actually met through the Airlie Beach cyclone season. So we welcome Megan today. She has been active in website development and digital marketing since 2004. Her specialty is in digital marketing for small business, focusing on empowering you business owners with the confidence and expertise to take control of your own digital marketing. Some of the areas that Megan covers are digital marketing, social media platforms, website development, digital tools, marketing strategy, and business strategy. We welcome you to contact Megan direct via the details on this slide, which will be shown again at the end of today's session. Recording of today's session will also be made available via social media. We welcome you, Megan.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. First thing I just wanted to say was I love questions. So if you're comfortable using the chat panel, feel free to pop questions in. And as I'm going through, I'll try to remember to have a look over, and I'm happy to answer questions as we go through. Today's tone is marketed towards people who are either beginners at running Google ads, or maybe have a campaign or considering setting up a campaign that maybe someone else runs, and you're looking at sort of taking things maybe a little bit further from the knowledge that you already have. There's always more to know. You can spend forever in Google ads, but today we're just getting a bit of a run through on what I do to manage campaigns and how that can help you in terms of disaster recovery and disaster preparedness. So as we all know, disasters can happen with notice or with no notice. And when that happens, everybody's brain is all very full and you have lots and lots of things going on. And generally, you have a hard time putting one foot in front of the other. So what we like to do is to just set a couple steps in place to help you to market your business better and to adjust what's already going on. So I'm going to share my screen here. All right, is that come through, Patina?
Yep, perfect. We can see
awesome.
that.
What I wanted to just share was just when disaster comes, one of the first things that's important to think about when you've got your run sheet of things to do is to consider if you have any ongoing marketing that costs you money that's running straight away. If you've got something like Google ads or Facebook ads or something else that's incurring money on an ongoing basis, you may need to shut that off straight away to control what's going on so that you can take a breather, figure out what's happening, make adjustments if you need to. And then once you've got a bit of a plan, then we can move forward with that plan. So the first thing that we're going to cover today is in terms of how to turn off ads. Now, if you have a marketing company who manages things for you, fantastic, you can ask them to do it. But because there's disasters that happen, they may be affected as well. It's important to have the access and know how to turn that off yourself, just in case you need to. So we're going to go through that. We'll also go through adjusting your campaigns. So when things have happened, I'm not sure what sort of businesses we've got represented today, but say you are a rural supply business, obviously people would be looking in terms of things for fencing or feed for stock or generators or things like that. If you've got even a hairdressing business, maybe the power's gone out and you're offering hairdressing sessions, you know, maybe out in front of someone's house, whatever that may be. There's a lot of stopping, regrouping, and adjusting to how you do business that happens in a disaster time. So what you need to consider is first to pause the existing marketing that you have going on, make a plan that you're going to use to adapt that, and then use the notes and the skills and the networks that you have to enact that plan. So we'll cover on how to turn your ads and campaigns off. You can either turn everything off or just turn one or two specific things off. I'll show you how to adjust the text of your ads, which is called the ad copy, and to alter the keywords, which is how people find your ads by what words they type in search. I'll also go through a couple of additional types of ads that you can try if you haven't tried them before, and how to measure a campaign successfully. If you have a Google Ads campaign already, you are welcome to pull that up and follow along with what we're covering today. I welcome that and happy to take questions, as I said, as we go along. So feel free to pull that up while you're having a listen through and have a look at what's going on in your campaign and see whether there's anything that you need to adjust.
It's a great idea, Megan. Let's make this interactive for the participants. Great.
Thanks, Bettina. So today we're looking at information on one of my clients who has a shuttle service for the airport. You can see here, I'm going to go back over to the overview page. When you first log into Google Ads, you generally will have an overview page. Because there's a lot of things on this page, it can sometimes take a minute for everything to show up. So you can see there's a loading bar across the top here. That's perfectly normal. That's no drama at all. It'll just take it a moment to pull up. Hopefully it'll come up in a second. And if it doesn't, I'll just sneak on to the next step anyway, because I'm going to be coming back to here in a minute. Okay, I'm going to try just pulling up campaign details. We'll see whether that's playing nicely. All right. So here is the campaigns page. This is where I start when I'm managing Google Ads. Here is where you can see there's groups of different ads. Now, down here at the bottom left corner, can you see that there's some that have got a gray pause button? There's one that's got a red X, and there's one that's got a green circle. So that's just your very quick overview on how your campaigns are going. So these gray ones are paused, which means they're not showing ads right now. Oh, sorry, let me just close this box out. Apologies there. You can see there's a red X, which means that something's turned off, as in we're probably not using that at all, not that we've temporarily paused it. And the green button here is your go button, showing that this ad campaign is running right now. So you can see that this campaign has got, there's a couple different sets of campaigns going there. There's a standard search campaign, leads that are turned off. We've got a Proserpine to Whitsunday ad group that's turned off at the moment. And you can see that over here in the status column that it gives you the same information here: unpaused, removed, and eligible. Eligible means that those ads are eligible to be served. So the really easy way to turn something off is you just click on that green button and you can go pause to temporarily stop that. And that will turn off all of your ads across that campaign. So you may have just one campaign, you may have more than one campaign. It doesn't matter either way. It's very easy to pause them, take stock of what's going on, and turn them back on again. So that's your overall campaign. If you go in to your ad groups, which is the next tab down on your left side menu, you will see inside the campaign that we have, and this is the campaign that we're running, is this SLX search campaign. We have a number of different ad groups. So ad groups allow you to take your whole campaign and break it up into segments so you can measure them separately. So you can separate them out, say you're doing different geographical areas, or say you're marketing different services or products. You generally will have a separate ad group for each of those. Sometimes you may even have a separate campaign. So just like the campaigns page, you can see very easily, if you want to turn off just this one group of ads, you can go and you can pause it, or you can turn it back on again. Nice and easy. To see the ads that are in that group, you can click on that group and that'll give you the keywords, or you can go under this one, which is ads and extensions. So ads and extensions shows you the advertisements that are going to be available for people to look at. I know there's a lot of data over here and Google Ads can be very overwhelming. We're not going to go through absolutely everything today, but I'll show you those key points that are the most important for you to keep an eye on. And if you have someone managing your ads for you, it's important to know that they are looking at those particular metrics as well. So if you want to take notes or just come back into the recording later on, you can take some of those and you can start a conversation with the person who's helping you out with your Google Ads, just to find out what they're doing and whether they keep an eye on these things. Or if you get reports, you may find that some of those things are in your reports already. So if you are in your ads here, let's say something's going on and you need to turn off one particular ad. Maybe there's a shortage of something because there's transport issues because of the disaster. You can just pause that individual ad, but keep everything else running. So as you can see, you can pause those ones. Alternatively, if you need to just make a change, you can click on the little pencil button here. Now, this is where we change the text for your ads. So you can see there's a little preview here. So it says Proserpine Airport transfers, luxurious transfers, book online today. They've got a link to where it is on the web page, and you've got a description. If you go in to edit that particular ad, you'll see Google will try to help you. Google gives you information on how that ad is going and gives you suggestions on how to fix it. So this is your summary down here on the right-hand side. And if you have a look, it's giving it into you in a slideshow format because there are different versions of ads that can show. So when you set up your ad, you're setting up a series of headlines, which are these bits here, and it will pick a few of those and it will put them into this section on your ad up the top. You want to have a variety of information that's going to be eye-catching and be important to people and really draw their interest. And then you can see that there's descriptions down the bottom as well. Now, Google only lets you add 4 descriptions, but it will let you add up to 15 different headlines. So if you're going in and you're wanting to adjust something on your campaign, a really good place to start is to just go into those and have a look at the recommendations that Google has over here. So you can see over here, I've got a green tick for add more headlines. So it reckons that 8 headlines is a good number. It gives plenty to try. And that gives Google enough that they'll see what's working and what isn't working, and they'll adjust things.
Megan, we have a couple of questions.
Yes.
So there's a question from Cheslin. Yeah, just if you're pausing an ad, will that also stop and start the payments?
So if you pause one ad, that one ad will stop serving. If you have any ads at all showing, then the payments will still accrue based on people who are clicking on those ads. That's a really good question. So if I go back over here, and we go back to the campaigns tab, can you see over here that this campaign, SLX search, has a budget of $20 a day. If you pause this campaign, then you will not incur any money, and that $20 a day will be saved. If you go in and you just have a look at the ad groups that are here, you can see some of them tend to incur more charge than others. But if you pause one or two of them and keep the rest of them open, then the other ones that are still showing ads will still charge you money when people click on them.
That's great. Now, there's also in the Q&A, Chelsea has asked, how much do you recommend to pay for Google ads per day in times of crises? And that's a really important question, I believe.
It is, but again, it's a very hard question to answer. It really depends on what you're doing. So you need to be thinking about what sort of cost your product is. So say, for example, if these airport transfers cost about $40 a person, right? So that's not a very large cost. And if you were charging, you were paying Google $30 for every person to click on those ads, but for every booking, you only get $40 back, you're not probably going to be able to make your own costs. I'll go in a little bit more into those costings a little bit further down the track, but it is a very individual thing to do, and you need to think about what you're interested in investing in terms of your business, and also in terms of your profit margins and things. So say you had a product that cost, say, $1,000, and maybe 20% of that is profit. So about $200 worth of that is profit. So if you charged Google, if you paid Google, say, $50 for someone to click on an ad, and every 2 people who clicked on the ad, you got 1 person who bought that product, that on average is going to cost you $100 to Google for an actual purchase out of your $200 profit. So you're slashing your profit in half by paying $50 per click. All those numbers really vary between businesses depending on what it is that you're showing. And sometimes when there's a disaster, you might not be as interested in making sure every single thing gets a profit. You might be more interested in putting your name out there. And so if you're not sure what's going to work or how much you're going to get out of something, what I would suggest is that you maybe have a bit of a guess, have a go. So if generally beforehand, before your disaster, your budget was $200 a week or $200 a month, whatever that budget is, then you say, okay, well, maybe we're going to turn half of our ads off, but keep half of those ads on. And maybe we'll keep that same budget, but all of it's going to go onto those other ads. And maybe that's what you decide you want to try. Have a look, and you can see how many inquiries you're getting through, or how many click-throughs, or how many phone calls you're getting through. And you can check that even after 24 hours and see what's happening. And I'll show you in a little bit. You go into tools and settings to see how those ads are working. So stand by, I'll give you a little bit more information on that shortly. Are there any more questions at the moment, Bettina? Oh, Bettina, sorry, you're just muted at the moment.
Oh, sorry. There's a question from Sinjin. Would you know if there are any government funding available to pay for Google ads? So I know a lot of the government grants pay for marketing and they pay for consultants. I haven't seen one yet that pays for Google ads, have you?
Generally, you can get funding for business development, for helping to do your marketing, for skills training, but the actual cost for running the ads themselves is normally not covered by the government. So that is generally not something that will be covered. However, if you talk to whoever you're using your Google ads with, or if you go on and you have a look, sometimes Google has got opportunities to give people coupon codes that you can get to help with your advertising. So for example, I every couple months, I'll get an email saying you can get $100 free advertising. You just have to spend $75 on your ads over the next month. So once you've paid that $75, then Google will pay for $100 after that to make your spend go farther. But generally, you need to use your own money for the actual ad costs themselves. There might possibly be a way to get around that if you have someone who's managing those ads for you and setting them up, and maybe as part of that package cost, they include the spend cost of your ads over a certain period of time, but that can potentially cause issues. So if you're going for a grant or other government subsidy and you're thinking about doing that, I would highly recommend that you send an email or phone call to the people who are running the grant and just get clarity and say, hey, this package includes some ad spend as part of the package. Is that okay? Because the last thing that you want is to spend time and effort putting information in to put a grant through and get knocked back just because that package isn't set up quite right for the grant. Bettina, were there any others at the moment? You're still on mute.
Sorry, we've seen more. We've seen another comment from Damien in the chat, but we might come back to that after you've gone through a couple of other slides, because some of these questions might be answered in future slides.
Yeah, for sure. No worries. All right. So we've talked a little bit about changing the text in your ads and following those recommendations. What I'm going to do is I'll see if I can get that overview page to run again now. And if it doesn't, then I'll just pop it in the background and we'll grab it out in a minute. Just pull that one up. Just hoping that that's going to come up for us with the overview. Here we go. That's what we're looking for. All right. On the overview page, the first thing that I look at is when your ad data is showing. So the most important thing to do is be aware of what it's showing. So I like to show 30 days or more of data. So I like to show the last 30 days. You can also turn on this little slider here to compare this 30 days with the previous 30 days. So you can see what's improved and what has gone down. I like to, as I said, I like to have that on, but you can change those parameters to whatever time period you like. If, say, you've made changes a week ago, then I'd suggest you pop into the last 7 days and compare to the 7 days before that, just so you can see how much your changes have affected your ad data. So I'm just going to have 30 days on compared to the previous period, which is the previous month. Now, if your business is a seasonal business, you might prefer to compare it to the previous year rather than the previous month, if there's a seasonal change involved in that. All right. Now, you're going to get a summary up here at the top. The summary here, you can change this graph to whatever information that you'd like to show. Now, I like to show quite a few of these metrics are important metrics, so I'll run through a couple of them with you. I'll pop these two on first. So the number of clicks is the number of people who've seen your ad and clicked on it. That's easy. The number of impressions is similar. Your impressions is the number of people who've seen the ad but may not have clicked on it. If you combine the two of them together, what you get is a really important metric called the click-through rate. Now, this is one of the key metrics for you to keep an eye on. What the click-through rate is, of the people who see your ads, how many people click on them? Now, this has ramifications that are quite important that I'll show you a little bit later on. So as a general rule of thumb, I really like a click-through rate, if I can, to be 10% or greater. But Google's averages for click-through rates are somewhere between 2 and 5%, depending on your industry. And I've got a link that I'll share through with you guys that's got information on what some of these benchmarks are for each industry, so you can have an idea of what to look for and what your ad costs should be. So on this graph, you can see the clicks are in blue. You can see there's a blue line here and there's a dotted blue line. The dotted blue line shows last month's data and the solid blue line shows this month's data. You can see there's a lot of up and down here, but in general, those blue lines are relatively the same spot, which means that your clicks from one month to the next are pretty close. Your click-through rate, if you have a look here, we've increased our click-through rate by 3%. And if you have a look at the red bars here, in general, that solid red line is above where the dotted line is, which means that we've had a better click-through rate recently. So that means that this campaign is running better this month than it was last month. And as I said, it's above 10% of the people who see the ads click through. So I'd be happy with that score. I'll show you a couple other ones. You can see conversions. So conversions are another really important number to look at. A conversion is how many people have actually gone to your website, clicked through the ad, gone to the website, and made an action that you want them to take. Now that could be making a phone call. It could be filling in a contact form. Some people can have a conversion which is stay on the website for more than 2 minutes. There's a variety of different types of conversions that can be set up. You can see here that this person has had 70 different people who've made an action on those ads. So they've had, I'm just pulling this back up again with clicks. I think it was around 600 clicks. Around 700 clicks, and 70 of those people who've clicked on the ads have actually gone through and converted, which means that you've got a lead for your business. So just like you can have a click-through rate, which is a percentage of how many people who see the ads click on them, and that's important. The other really important one is your cost per conversion, right? Now, this is what I was saying. How much does it cost for you to get a lead? So this ad campaign, they're paying Google between $8 and $9 for every person who's called them or sent an inquiry form through. All right. Now, that is a cost that this person is happy with. They can afford that in terms of the cost structure. You're going to need to think about what sort of costs you're happy with in your own business, and you're going to have to adjust that through adjusting your ads and adjusting your spend and adjusting your keywords to hopefully get a cost per conversion, a cost per lead that you're happy with. I'm just having a look here. Now, those are the most important metrics that I like to have a look at. I like to track them, and I send people through a report every month saying, this is how you are this month, this is how you were last month, this is how it's compared. You can also get on the overview some other information. So they'll give you a summary of each of those campaigns. So how much the campaign cost you for those 30 days, how many clicks, what your click-through rate is. These are the actual conversions themselves, which I'll show you in a moment. This shows you, and I said you can divide your campaigns up to different ad groups. You can see how each individual ad group is performing. And an easy way, if you have a cost per conversion that is too high for you, is to have a look at those ads and look at the click-through rates to see if you've got a high click-through rate, and also have a look at your cost per conversion on those. And you may find that some of them are more expensive than others. So here you can see this one is only $8 cost for a conversion, whereas this one is $11.50. So if you have a variety of different ad groups that you're trying, and you find that your costs are a little bit more than you're happy with, you can just pause the ones that are too expensive and leave the ones that are less expensive. And that way your ad spend will give you more leads and more potential business. One of the other things that's important here is your keywords, and I'll get into that in a moment. That'll be the next section that we look at. So you can see each individual's phrase that someone can type in to Google or the search engines. You can see how that individual one is performing. So you can see this phrase, which is Proserpine to Airlie Beach, has a great click-through rate. That's 14, nearly 15%, which is really good, higher than our average. Whereas this one, Airlie Beach Transfers, is only 10%. And this one, Shuttle from Airlie Beach to Proserpine, is only 8%. So again, if you're looking at optimizing your campaign and you need to control your spend because something's happened in the business or in your region, this is an easy way that you can pause or stop some of those keywords that are costing you more money.
And that's probably a great segue. You might be jumping into this in the next slide, Megan, but we've got a question from Cheslin. How can I get a list of keywords or meta tags that would be useful for Google Ads or my website?
Yep, I'm going to get into that in just a moment. That's perfect timing. Excellent. I've just got a couple more things to show you on the overview page, and then we'll head straight over to keywords. And that's one of the most important things to show you. And it's pretty easy. If you're not overwhelmed too much yet, you'll find that this one sort of leads you through just like the rest of these ones, that you can pause, you can see the information, and you can turn things on and off very quickly. You can see which ads show. They'll give you information of how your billing works. Now, these ones down the bottom, I actually find are really helpful for taking what's going on in your Google ads and transferring things onto other platforms. So say you do Facebook or Instagram or other social media platforms, you may find that certain times of day are when people are looking for you. Now, in this day and hour report, you can have a look and you can see that there's squares that are lighter and squares that are darker. The darker squares are where you've had more traffic, and the lighter squares are where you've had less traffic. So here you've got each day of the week from top to bottom, and then you've got the time of day from the beginning of the day to the end of the day here. So your numbers are pretty scattered on this particular plot for this business. So everything seems to be going through most hours of the day and through most days of the week. But some campaigns, you may find that certain days of the week or certain times of the day, people are really active. I've got a dentist, and their most active period is between 3 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 o'clock in the evening. And so because I've found that data, I've been able to say, when you're doing your Facebook ads, try to schedule them in so they go in that time of day when people are active and looking for that information. Another thing you can see here is you can see your demographics based on your gender and your age. So one of the things that you can do in terms of your audiences, which I'm not going to get too much into today, is you can say, I want my ads to show for people who are in a certain age group or a certain gender. And you can see which ones are working. And if you find that there's a certain group that doesn't seem to be working very well for you, you can turn those off. And lastly, you've got a devices. So you can see on this ad campaign, most people are viewing these on mobile phones, which is blue. And some people are viewing them on computers, which is yellow, and very few people are viewing things on tablet, which is red. That's normal. And I would say pretty much everybody who I look at will find the majority of people are following their ads on mobile phones. You can see, you can actually drill down on your reports and see if you can need to turn off one of those devices as well. So just follow your nose, and you can click on some of those for more detail. And I'll also show you how to do some help directly with Google's information in a moment. So on to keywords. So I've shown you just a little bit of keyword information on that overview page. Right? These same metrics that we were looking at before are the metrics that you're going to see in this report. You can change which columns, which data is in your report. This is what I like to have, which are the ones that I've showed you before. I like to show impressions, which is how many people have seen the ad, how many people have clicked on it, how much that has cost me, and so on. And I've got a couple of things turned on over here. So when I'm looking at the keywords to see which keywords are working, I like to sort them in terms of most cost to least cost. If it's something that over 30 days out of my, say, so you can see here, there's a $600 spend. If it's something that's only cost me $20, making a change to that is not going to make a big change. I like to look at the ones that are the largest cost first. So if you've got limited amount of time, just adjusting those top 5 or 10 in there is the most important thing that you can do. And don't worry as much about the ones that aren't costing you as much money. So looking at the click-through rate, from most cost to least cost, you can see that there's a number of keywords here. You've got the keyword listed here. And you can see the click-through rates on these top ones are generally pretty high. So there's one here that's only 8%, one here that's 9%, but other than that, they're all over 12% in that top list. And that's all the way down to about a $20 spend per month, which is great. So that's because these are relatively well optimized campaign. If you've got one that's not doing well, you can turn that off. I like to look at the click-through rate. I also like to look at that cost per conversion. So if it's got a high click-through rate and also a high cost per conversion, that's not as good as a low cost per conversion. So you want a high click-through rate, lots of people seeing your ads, but you want a low cost for someone to actually send an inquiry through. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking at optimizing click-through rate higher and cost per conversion lower. So in this instance, we've got mostly low cost per conversions here. We've got a couple that are a little bit higher, but in general, we're happy with how those are going. Bettina, are there any questions about keywords, what we've got at the moment? You're on mute. You're a really good muter.
Not normally. Just whether or not there was any particular site that you could go to get a list of keywords relevant to your type of business. A lot of small business owners don't necessarily know.
Yes. So there's two good ways to find good keywords. So one of them is once you've got a campaign, you can go down here to the search terms. So search terms tells you which phrases people have been typing into the search engines and viewing your ads. And you can see what's working and what isn't working. So you can see these are the number of, so I've got this one sorted by the number of impressions, but you can sort it by the amount of cost that it spends you. So I like to go through here and see, okay, look at these phrases that have come through. If it's something that looks like it's important, like Proserpine to Airlie Beach, which is the locations that we travel on this particular product when the airport transfers. We thought that was a good fit. So we've actually gone click and we've gone added in as a keyword, and that adds it into your campaign. So you can see already that you've got a 10% click-through rate, which is pretty good for us. And if I scroll over your cost for conversion, we haven't had any conversions yet on this one, but I don't mind because we're going to have a look and we're going to see what works. And if we need to turn it off later on, we can turn it off later on.
So Megan, for those small business owners that haven't yet invested in Google Ads and they're just starting out and they can't afford a marketing consultant, is there a keyword site that they could go to?
Yes, so there is a keyword planner in here. So if you go up to tools and settings, now you have to have a Google Ad account to go into this section. It's free to create an account. You do not have to have a running set of ads. You just have to have a Google Ads account. And then you have over here a keyword planner. Now the keyword planner is where you can type information about your product and what sorts of things you think people are going to type in, and Google will then give you a bunch of suggestions. So let's click discover new keywords. Okay, so I want to say airport transfers Proserpine. Okay, so I'm going to click and we're going to see what Google comes up with. So Google has come up with this word, which is airport transfers Proserpine, which is the phrase that I typed in. They suggest that we could try Proserpine to Airlie Beach shuttle or Proserpine to Airlie Beach transfers. So you can click on those ones and you can add them straight in to your ad campaign. So that's an easy way to add some in, and you can change your search here, and you can adjust your search by adding other keywords into there. Do you think that answers that question, Bettina?
Yeah, you make that look quite easy.
The other way, which is a really sneaky, easy way to do it, is by going through Google's suggested search terms. So if you go to type something in here, you'll see Google will often give you some suggestions. So say we want to do, again, so we'll do airport transfers. I've typed that in. Now down here, you can see there's a range of different phrases here that Google says, oh, are you looking for any of these things? And those can give you an idea of keywords for you to target as well. So you can keep typing in lots of different suggestions here to get some ideas. Now, the last place that I like to look for ideas, I'll just close out of this keyword planner and go back into here, is you can have a look at what your competition is doing. So if we go into, I think it's insights. Oh, not insights, hold on. Let me just go into my notes here. Auction insights, competition data, auction insights. So if you go under campaigns, one of the options here is auction insights. So you can see here, what other domain names, what other businesses are comparing things against you. And you can see how you're doing against them. So then once you've got an idea of who your competitors are, you can take those domain names and you can put those into the keyword planner. And you can say, I want to look up information about aileybeachtransfers.com or Heart of Reef Shuttles or cheapflights.com.au. And then Google will give you an idea of keywords that those people are targeting. So that's 3 different ways for you to create new keywords, even if you haven't done any Google ads at all to start off with. If you've got more questions about that, pop it in the chat panel, and I'm sure Bettina will let me know if there's more questions about that.
We are on another question that I said earlier we would park.
Yes.
I am just conscious of the time also. We've gone into just over
I'm nearly
minutes.
done anyway.
Fantastic. Just for any of the listeners, we're sort of another 5 minutes off closing. Damien has asked, just wondering if you think using competitor business names as keywords works for Google Ads. For example, every time I try to go onto Fair Work Australia website, the first on the page comes up with a HR consultancy firm.
Okay, that is something that you're going to have to make a decision on your own. So generally what I recommend to clients is let's start off doing your own thing, see how you're going, and then depending on how things are with you and your competitors, you can then decide if you need more traffic. And if, say, they're being quite competitive with you, then generally it's not considered too bad of an idea. You can put your competitors' business names and things like that in there because you're an alternative to doing business with them. And it's definitely something that a lot of people do. But just be aware that if they're not actively targeting your business name, you can sometimes get people feeling a bit cranky and offside depending on your relationship with that business. So I would take that with a grain of salt. Think about your individual situation. And if you're not sure, then I'd say don't do it to start off with and see whether you can get the results that you want before you look at taking that extra step. So we are nearly through. The last thing that I wanted to show you is there's some other types of ads. So the different types of ads that you can show. If I go into ads and extensions here, now I've shown you the ads and looked at the ads themselves. If you go into extensions, this is a good campaign to show you as an example. Now, sometimes your ads will have site links. Now, this is where it has links to individual pages on your website below your ad. If you include site links, your ad is larger and it draws someone's eye better, and it also allows them to click exactly where they want to go on your website. I strongly recommend clicking on the plus on extensions and adding site link extensions on. That's a great one to add. Call outs are ones that will show additional text. So just like you've got your headings here in blue, you can also down the bottom, if you add in some specific call outs, so you can hear here, their call outs are luxury vehicle transport, response times, experienced drivers. They will put that at the bottom of the ad, and they'll put it in a little box and saying reduce stress in waiting or experienced drivers. And it'll give you a little bit extra space and show one of those important aspects for your business and what sets you apart from everybody else. Structured snippets, if you're managing ads yourself, I wouldn't worry about those ones. Dynamic images, again, I wouldn't worry too much about those ones. You can turn them on if you like. What that does is if you've got images on the page people go to on your website, it'll grab those images out and sometimes show them in your ads. But another one that I love is the call extension. So you can see here in this ad, right down the bottom, there's a link to call this person straight away. And they don't even have to click on the ad and go through to your website. They can click on the phone number and it just calls straight on their phone, and it marks it as a conversion straight away on their ad campaigns. So that's a variety of different types of things to try out. What I am going to send to you guys is I've got a variety of information. I've got a link to Google's information on how to create a new ad campaign. I've got a link that's just come out this week on cost per clicks and other benchmarks for each industry. So this is brand new data from WordStream, who is the industry leader in providing this data, and it only came out last week, and it normally comes out every couple of years. So you've got fresh data on that one. I haven't gotten too much into quality score. That's sort of a more advanced thing that you want to look at if you've got ads already. Quality score is a good way of decreasing the spend on your ads by making your ads a better quality. So Google wants to reward you for having ads that people like. So having a better click-through rate, like I was talking to you before, means that if you've got a better click-through rate and someone else has a worse click-through rate and everything else is the same, Google would rather show you, and they'll show more of your ads at a smaller cost than they will someone who is not getting as much click-through. So I'll send you this link on how quality score works. Information about different types of keywords, so you can match based on exact phrases or allowing people to swap those word order around to make your search terms more broad or more specific. But I think that pretty much covers everything that I was going to cover. That's a link to the links and resources. You're going to get a link to here, and I will also paste these into the chat panel for you guys. Or Patina, I don't know whether you wanted to grab that out and send that through. Let me just see if I've got the chat panel here. And if you've got more questions, send them through right now, because I will answer them if we've got any extra time. There's your links.
Fantastic, thank you.
That's all right.
I just put it out to the audience a few minutes ago to ask if there were any further questions. We've had a couple of great comments. You know, it looks so powerful, great presentation. As we mentioned, just when we do finish up, we will put the slide up again of Megan's contact details.
Yes.
There is funding opportunities for business specialists such as Megan to work with audience members, business owners, for up to 4 hours, funded by Queensland Government. So please, if you feel the need to engage Megan, make the most of that opportunity, and she'll be able to, you can either contact Complete Business Solutions or contact Megan direct herself, and we will be able to put you onto the department to make sure that you have access to those services fully funded.
Perfect. I'm just having a look through the chat panel, and Damien's also said something about reverse keywords. Now, I'm also wondering, Damien, whether you could possibly be talking about negative keywords, which is where if you go into search, there's a separate spot that you can exclude certain things from your ads. So Damien, in this ad campaign, the business has only got one location operating in the Whitsundays. So they don't actually operate in Adelaide. So for example, they've added Adelaide in as a negative keyword. So if someone is typing searches into Google looking for transfers, but they put the word Adelaide in there, as soon as that word Adelaide is in there, then your ads won't show because you're not relevant to them. So I definitely would suggest that as you're going through those keywords that have come up, and the search terms that people have used, have a look to see which ones you want to add, but you also might find some that you want to remove and exclude by clicking on it, and then you can add it in as a negative keyword. So that's a really excellent point, Damien. Thank you very much for that. I'm not seeing any more questions at the moment. So you've got my email address. If you have anything that you want to ask personally,
we do have, we actually do have one, Megan, sorry. Yep. Nikki Jerd, welcome, Nikki. So Nikki actually plays in this space. So do you know of any Australian sources of data like the USA data from WordStream?
Nikki, let me connect with you offline. I don't generally go with other people's data just because I prefer people to look at what actually works for their own business. And just because two people are in the same space doesn't necessarily mean that the same things are going to work for them. But pop me an email. I know we've had a chat in the past before as well. I will send you through a little bit extra information, but I don't normally recommend that for my clients, no.
Fantastic. Thank you, Megan. Nikki says thank you.
No worries, Nikki. Always good.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions coming through the chat or the Q&A, we would like to thank you for your time today, Megan. And as mentioned again, for those small business owners who are listening in either today in the live session or in the recording, the Department of Employment Small Business and Training provide an opportunity for up to 4 hours fully funded to work with business specialists such as Megan. So please, if you need that help to get some support for Google Ads, reach out to Complete Business Solutions or to Megan, and we'll be able to put you in touch with the department to ensure that you are subsidised for that support.
Perfect.
Megan, we would like to thank you for your time. We're showing your screen with your contact details. The recording will be made available later today across social, and we will also have a portal that will be able to email links out to everybody. Thank you for your time, Megan.
No worries. Thank you, everybody, and have a good afternoon.